Real growth doesn't feel like progress. That's the first truth no one prepares you for. If you expected confidence, clarity, or motivation, you were lied to. Growth doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives quietly, and it feels wrong. It feels like confusion, like losing certainty, like waking up one day and realizing the old version of you doesn't fit anymore, but the new version hasn't arrived. This is a phase where most people panic, because nothing looks better yet. Your results haven't changed. Your life doesn't look impressive. And internally, you feel heavier than before. You start questioning yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Why does this feel harder than before? Was I happier when I stayed the same? This is where comfort calls you back. Comfort says, go back to who you were. At least that version knew how to survive. But survival is not growth. Growth dismantles you before it rebuilds you. It strips away habits, beliefs, and identities that once protected you, but now limit you. And the scariest part? You don't get immediate proof that it's working. Real growth feels like walking in the dark without a map. No applause, no validation, just you and uncertainty. Most people quit here, not because they are weak, but because no one warned them that growth feels like this. One of the first signs of real growth is isolation. Not because you hate people, not because you think you're better, but because your priorities change, and not everyone understands that. You stop enjoying conversations that go nowhere. You stop laughing at things that once distracted you. You stop explaining yourself, because explaining costs energy you're trying to protect. And people notice. Some feel uncomfortable around you. Some take it personally. Some try to pull you back into old habits. They'll say you change. What they really mean is, you're no longer familiar. Growth creates distance before it creates alignment. And this part hurts more than people admit. Because humans are wired for connection. Being misunderstood feels like rejection. There will be nights you wonder if you made a mistake. If success is worth the loneliness. If discipline is worth the silence. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Growth demands space. And sometimes that space feels empty. But emptiness is not failure. It's preparation. You're shedding what can't survive at the next level. At some point, motivation disappears. Not temporarily. Completely. And that's when real growth begins. You wake up tired. You don't feel inspired. You don't feel powerful. But you move anyway. Because discipline isn't loud. It doesn't hype you up. It doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is quiet obedience to your future self. This is where most people fail. Because they wait to feel ready. But growth doesn't respond to feelings. It responds to consistency. You train when no one is watching. You work without praise. You show up without excitement. And some days, you hate it. But slowly, almost invisibly, you become dangerous. Not because you're motivated, but because you're reliable. Growth often feels like weakness. You're pushing limits you've never touched. Of course it hurts. Muscles tear before they grow. Confidence breaks before it rebuilds. Ego dies before wisdom appears. This phase is humbling. You realize how much you don't know, how fragile you really are, how far you still have to go. And that realization can crush you or refine you. Strong people aren't born confident. They are forged in moments where quitting feels logical. Growth doesn't ask if you're ready. It asks if you're willing. Here's the cruelest part of growth. Results lag behind effort. You work for weeks, months, sometimes years, and nothing seems to move. This is where discipline is tested, not by difficulty, but by silence. No feedback, no confirmation, just repetition. But growth is compounding. Every small action stacks. Every uncomfortable decision builds momentum you can't see yet. And then, suddenly, something shifts. Not dramatically, but undeniably. And you realize you weren't stuck. You were becoming.